The palace gates trembled, but the king stood firm. His eyes scanned the villagers with disdain as they cowered, but Zuri remained unshaken. She felt the earth rumble beneath her feet, just as the lion had warned in her dream. The tension in the air was thick, something was coming. Kwame's guards, their spears gleaming in the fading light, stepped forward, but Zuri raised her hand. Stop. Her voice was strong, cutting through the commotion. The villagers behind her gripped their tools tightly, their eyes shifting between Zuri and the king. Kwame let out a low, bitter laugh. You think you can stop me with your words, girl? I am the king. No one defies me. Zuri met his gaze without flinching. Your time is ending, Kwame. The lion has spoken. The mention of the lion sent murmurs through the crowd. The older villagers exchanged glances, whispers of ancient stories passing between them. Legends of the lion protector, the spirit that watched over their land, resurfaced in their minds. Kwame's eyes narrowed. Lions. Dreams. Nonsense. He raised his hand, ready to signal his guards to attack. But before he could act, the ground beneath them shifted again, this time more violently. Cracks spread across the dusty earth like veins, and the palace walls shook. The villagers gasped as the gates groaned under the pressure. The guards stumbled, struggling to keep their footing. Zuri stood tall, her heart pounding but her resolve unshaken. Then, from deep within the earth, a low, haunting growl echoed. It wasn't human. It was the lion. Kwame's face paled. What is happening? He stammered, backing away. The growl grew louder, vibrating through the air as though the ground itself was speaking. Zuri's heart raced. She knew this was her moment. This is your final warning, Kwame, she said, her voice steady. The spirits of this land have had enough of your cruelty. Kwame looked around frantically. His guards, once loyal and fierce, were now frozen in fear. The villagers, though frightened, stood their ground, united behind Zuri. Suddenly, the palace gates burst open with a deafening crack. Dust and debris flew into the air, and from the swirling cloud, a golden glow emerged. The lion, larger than any beast they had ever seen, stood tall at the palace entrance. Its eyes burned like fire, and its mane shimmered as if lit from within. The crowd gasped, some falling to their knees in awe. The guards dropped their spears, stepping back in fear. Kwame, now trembling, could only stare at the massive creature. Zuri stepped forward, her hand raised toward the lion. The lion has come to restore balance. Your reign of terror is over. The lion let out a deafening roar, shaking the very walls of the palace. The air seemed to vibrate with power, and the sky darkened further, as though the heavens themselves were watching the confrontation unfold. Kwame stumbled back, his eyes wide with terror. No. This can't be. Zuri stood tall, her heart beating wildly. She could feel the power of the lion beside her, its presence giving her the strength she needed. Surrender, Kwame, she said. End this now, or face the full wrath of the spirits. For a moment, there was silence. The villagers held their breath, waiting to see what the king would do. Kwame's face twisted with fear and rage. He glanced at the lion, then at Zuri, and then back at his guards, who were no longer at his side. Suddenly, his expression hardened. No, he shouted. I will not be defeated by a girl and a beast. I am the king. With a wild scream, Kwame lunged towards Zuri, but before he could reach her, the lion moved. In a blur of golden fur, it leaped between them, its massive form blocking Kwame's path. The king froze, his eyes locked with the lion's burning gaze. Time seemed to stand still. Zuri took a step forward, her voice calm but filled with power. "It's over, Kwame." The lion growled, low and menacing, and for the first time, Kwame looked truly afraid. He stumbled back, his once proud posture crumbling. "No. No. This can't be happening." But it was. The king, once feared and untouchable, was now powerless before the very force he had mocked. The villagers, seeing their king brought low, began to stir. Hope flickered in their hearts, and they took a step forward, emboldened by Zuri's courage and the lion's strength. Kwame, now cornered, looked around wildly for an escape. But there was none. The lion stood tall and unwavering, its eyes never leaving the king. Zuri raised her hand once more. "Surrender, Kwame. Let peace return to our land." The king's eyes darted between Zuri and the lion. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Finally, with a defeated cry, he fell to his knees. The villagers erupted into cheers, their voices rising in a wave of relief and joy. Zuri felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The nightmare was over. Greed and cruelty ultimately lead to downfall. But as the lion's roar echoed through the night sky, Zuri knew this was only the beginning. The land needed healing, and there were still those loyal to Kwame who might not give up so easily. She looked up at the lion, feeling its presence as strong as ever. Their journey was far from over. The moral lesson of the story is that courage and unity can overcome even the most oppressive forces. When people come together with a common purpose, they are stronger than any single ruler or oppressor. Greed and cruelty ultimately lead to downfall.